panel. To introduce the next panel, I would like to invite Mr. Patki, who is the Marketing Head India from Microfocus, to please join us on the stage and welcome and introduce the next, one of the most amazing panels that you would be seeing. The best is definitely for the last. Stay tuned.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Patki. I head the marketing for Microfocus in India. Thank you very much, Sandeep, for giving me this opportunity to host. I come from Mumbai, and Mumbai is the city of Bollywood. So, as they say that, picture abhi baki hai. So, the most interesting panel is what we will have, which is being kept last, but it's not the least, as they say. Before we start the next panel, a quick reminder to everybody that we will have a lucky draw at the end of the panel, and in case if you have not dropped your card, one of my colleagues will be going around with the bowl. You can put in your visiting card, or you can just write your name, designation, email, contact number, and on a piece of paper, and you can put it in the bowl. So that's what we'll have, something really interesting towards the end of the panel. Today has been really exciting day. We heard each and every aspect of digital transformation and how digital transformation is empowering India. Some amazing keynotes, various facets of digital transformation. And now something which is very close to my heart, something which I like, is the next panel, and the panel is on the topic of smart and safe cities. So for this, let me start by inviting the moderator for the panel. We have with us Mr. Harmeet Singh, IPS, Commissioner of Police, Guwahati, Government of Assam, to please come on the dais as he would be moderating the panel. Very welcome to you, sir. So, now to introduce our distinguished panelists, may I invite Mr. Narendra, Nath, ITS, Joint Secretary, Cyber, National Security Council, Secretariat, Government of India. A very warm welcome to the panel, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please can we have a very round of applause as we get this distinguished panel up here. The next, may I invite Mr. Brijesh Singh, IPS, Additional Director General of Police, Government of Maharashtra. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Sir, I'm from Mumbai, and I'm going to be sounding a bit tired, but I'm a big fan of yours. I've been seeing you, reading about you, but I'm really a big fan of yours, and thank you very much for being on panel today. The next distinguished panelist that we have is Dr. Nitin Gaur, IAS, Municipal Commissioner, Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation, Government of Uttar Pradesh. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause. The next eminent panelist that we have is Mr. Tayi, APCS, AG, Deputy Commissioner, East Siang District, Pasighat, Government of Arunachal Pradesh. A very warm welcome to you, sir, on the panel. So the next panelist that we have is Mr. Sunil Murlidhar, Dhamne, Joint Municipal Commissioner, Assessment and Collection, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, a very big round of applause. Let's have it. The next panelist that we have is Mr. Ramesh, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Kakinada Smart City Corporation Limited. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Next up, we have Mr. Ashish Kumar Pathak, Chief Executive Officer, Ujjain Smart City Limited, Government of Madhya Pradesh. A very good evening and very warm welcome to this panel, sir. And last but not my least, my very close friend, my colleague, Mr. Prasun Talukdar, National Manager, Digital India and Strategic Projects, Government and PSU at Microfocus. A very warm welcome to you, Prasun. And with that, I hand over the panel to Mr. Harmeet Singh.
Challenge But you know the names you have here are very different from the names on the panel. So I guess, guys, that's the transition and the transition. So, how would you like to do this? I'm not a very formal person, and after spending some 31 years in service, I don't think I'm going to start formality now. So, let's kick this off and make it actually productive rather than everybody selling what they want to sell. I don't know, I know you're not going to like my words, but I don't mince them. So, all of you particularly have a lot more experience than I guess most of us in the bureaucracy or the police vis-a-vis smart cities and safe cities. But being the consumer, I surely know what I want. And having traveled pretty far and wide, worked with many countries on security and safety issues, I have a wee bit idea of what's available in the world and what companies are trying to sell in India. There's a huge gap there. So that's why I said that I might say things which consultants and companies will not like. Just before I take off, I would just say that I've just had a very, I was in Hyderabad to take a lecture at the National Police Academy, and I decided to visit my friend, the CP of Hyderabad, who's a batchmate. And you know, every time I go back to Andhra and Telangana, I'm left a little amazed at the progress that they made. And this is from the time that one saw them doing things with the Naxals. Right from then, technologically, they've been pretty good vis-a-vis safety and security issues. So, not adding too much to that, how would you like to do it? Would you like to go one by one, or what would you like to do? I leave it to all of you. Would you like to make it a big mix of one corporate guy, one government guy, or start with the National Security Council Secretariat and have them tell us their vision, and then carry on from there? How do you say it? Does that make sense? Because I'd asked for a pre-panel chat, which we never got. So which is where you normally decide how you're going to run the panel. So as we haven't decided how we're going to run the panel, let's decide it right now. So I don't think, why don't you start?
That's the default one.
Yeah, I guess so. National Security Council Secretariat, you have to be the...
Yeah, thanks. You know, in the early panel, one important observation was made regarding user experience, you know, and the user interface. And that's something that's not taken into consideration as it should be when you're designing a service or a product. Observation that was made. You know, now this panel, when we talk about security, is something that's, I'd also like to be totally frank, maybe as an afterthought that we should have. And we have all, you know, it warms the cockles of one's heart that, you know, having so much of digital transformation that's happening and lots of initiatives to make digital India. And we have gone through all of that. But then, you know, you feel that this session on smart cities and security is something like, okay, this also has to be done, so let's have this session. And that is how you find in most workshops, seminars, that, you know, the security is something is an afterthought that's fitted in because everything else has happened and this also has to be done. And when you talk in product and service design, that is how it happens. So you'll find that when people sit down in a room, when they start a new project, they talk about what are the functional requirements that this product or service has to give. And they say this has to do this, does this do this, does this do this, and all of that. And then they go ahead and do design. And afterwards, then there's a separate team that, you know, they are tasked with saying, well, how do I secure this now? I think that one of the messages that personally I would like to give, and that from our organization we talk of secure by design, you know. And that means what? Security is also one functional requirement of any product and service. And that's where it starts. So when you sit for the first time in the room and start listing out the functional requirements of the product and service, you have to put security also functional requirement. And I'll tell you that it will make a remarkable difference to the way this solution is architected. And this I'm telling from personal experience, that was we got into designing for product and service, and the same thing happened. We sat in that, and, you know, everything else they talked about other than security. And we told them, no, you just put security as a functional requirement, come back to us after 2 weeks. And when they did, you will find that there is a complete change in both the software and the hardware architecture of that product that was getting designed. So this is one thing that I think that's important that we do. Because lots of people talk of secure design, and this is how we should talk, that security is a functional requirement that has to be addressed. Because when we talk of digital India, assurance and a sense of guarantee to the citizens of this country, that whatever services they avail of are secure. And the plethora of breaches that are happening and individual citizens that are getting affected through cybercrime, everybody is apprehensive of fully going digital and then doing the digital transactions online. And this is one important concept that is to be addressed. The other aspect that we find that, especially when you talk of smart cities, that the amount of IoT devices that would get deployed, the amount of data that would get generated. The other aspect that we have to be really concerned about is data security and the fine-grained consent management that has to be built into any product and service. So privacy by design, when I talk of security by design, privacy by design is also another concept that has to be addressed right away. So consent management, fine-grained consent management is important, and you will find that the fine-grained consent management would be dependent on the type of service that is being designed. If, for example, you talk of a medical application where, let's say, it's a e-hospital application, and you have data pertaining to all the reports that are there. So that is one important part that I think that has to be addressed. The other thing that comes to mind is you find these lots of breaches that are happening. You talk of the JPS or the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attacks that have happened, or the recent attacks of Oil India that has happened in this part of the world, and the AIMS attack that has happened. Cyber hygiene is one that we talk about, and this is something that we've been talking for a long time. But since everybody is a digital citizen now, it's important that everybody knows how they have to handle the digital devices. More important than that is to have the core team who is technically competent to understand how the infrastructure is to be maintained and how to handle when a breach is occurred. In many of the breaches that have occurred, what we have observed is that the entity does not know what to do. They do not know how to, isolate. They are not sure if the backup is protected or not. Many a time you find the backup itself, gets attacked by the ransomware. It gets corrupted. So this is another area that the CISO is a very important functionality. So he's a window to the organization. So for example, if CERT is giving out some advisories, does the organization have the capacity to absorb that advisory and implement that? Many a time the advisory comes, but the organization does not know what to do. Because the CISO is an add-on function. He could be a master's in horticulture, and he would be an ordained function of CISO that's given to him. There is no team that supports him. So CISO is a specialist function that we should recognize, and it's very important. It's like putting a CFO, finance is a cross function across all organizations. Cyber is also a cross function. It's a horizontal. It means that like we put financial experts in all organizations to take care of financial accounting needs, like similarly for the cyber also we have to recognize that we have to have specific cadre people or experts who look after this function. That is another part. So I don't think I'll have another opportunity to talk. There are a couple of things that I would like to bring to your notice that the government of India is taking care in this respect. One of them is, capacity building is an important part. So especially in the critical information infrastructure. So we have teamed up with NCIPC. We have tasked them with the responsibility of coming up with, the certification framework for individuals with different levels, and the certification framework for training organizations and certifying organizations. That is one part. That's a work in progress that's happening. Then we also, there's an R&D budget that we have from our office. We have also funded a project for coming up with the National Cybersecurity Reference Architecture. Because many organizations, depending on the technical competence of the organization, they will come up with the architecture as per their own understanding of that. And that might not be mature. So why not have, like you have minimum baseline security solutions, where people know that this is a minimum baseline security that you have to implement. Why not come up with a national cyber security reference architecture, depending on power sector, the telecom sector, the health sector and all of that. And it would be unique to that. So there's one other project that we're doing for coming up with a national cyber security reference architecture. So people could actually, look at that and check it out that this is the architecture that I should implement for minimum baseline security. And these are the products that are available at each level of the security. And the other one, of course, is, emerging technology we talked about. Blockchain is another one that is emerging. So we have funded IIT Kanpur for doing a blockchain project for coming with a national blockchain. And some of the results have started coming. For example, the last convocation of IIT Kanpur, where the Honorable Prime Minister had given the degrees, was on the blockchain that we had funded. And subsequently, the Prime Minister had wanted that the bravery awards also should be coming through that. That's also happened. Now the IGNOU is going to give all the award, the convocation blockchain. The same blockchain is also being used in Karnataka for the Kaveri land records in 6 sub-registrar's office. It's been implemented. So this is another project that we are doing. And darknet and dark web is one area of concern. So there are some tools that have been developed and some security agencies are using those tools. So there are multiple areas in which work is happening. But one area of concern which I come back to is IoT. Now today IoTs are going to large extent, and they will be a vector for cyber attacks. They will become bots attacking that. Today if you want to go into the country and try to purchase a safe or secure IoT device, do we have an option? We don't. So what is required is to have security requirements for IoT devices, different categories of that, and have a certification mechanism so that we could say that these are secure, certified IoT devices and you should purchase them. Then maybe there will be a regulatory requirement because a secure device will be more costly. So what prevents a person from going in for an insecure device? Because personally he is not interested, but then his IoT device is going to be a vector for an attack. So maybe a regulatory requirement for making it mandatory that only secure devices are deployed into the smart cities projects, for example. So we have funded some projects, but this is one area, we have not got really good traction. And there's a lack of maybe technical skills. It's more than 1.5 years since we have funded projects. I have not like to take the names of some of the premier institutes which we have engaged with and not got good results. But recently IIT Bombay, under the Technology Innovation Hub, has started working on this area, and hopefully we'll get some good results in this area. And there's another one project that we have funded that is for creating a national malware repository or the malware coach, like the virus total. So where you could deposit your malwares and get them analyzed. One of the security breaches that we had in the country of critical infrastructure, the people had uploaded the malware into virus total. And when they did that, some of the files also got uploaded along with the malware, and that gave an indication of the infrastructure that had gone, that had been breached, and which is national security implications. So that's when we decided that why should somebody have to upload a malware into some virus total? Why not have a malware repository of our own? So this malware repository has already been created. We have got more than 95 million samples of malware on that. We have opened it out to our agencies now. They are using it. And some of the education institutions have also started using it for their own research purposes. That will be formally launched shortly. We have also offered it to some of like-minded countries to use this, entering into MOUs with some of the like-minded countries, that we are offering this malware coach as a service to some of our friendly countries. So these are some of the things that I wanted to bring to you. But I come back to the point that if you really want to ensure security, kindly make security as a functional requirement of the product that you are designing. That's how it has to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Narendra ji. Good of you to put into perspective the basic thing that cyber security or cyber hygiene basically, which actually starts from the basic smartphone user and carries on. But bringing it back to safe cities and smart cities and how a smart city can be safe. I don't think Maharashtra lacks any big cities, and it lacks. So before I request Brijesh ji to give us a perspective of the police part of the safe city and smart city thing, I just like to add one thing that today, while sort of coming here in the car, it's a long drive, I thought I'd just go through the net and read a few studies that have come out abroad. And interestingly, most of what I found from the consultants, and I on purpose didn't read any studies on India because I didn't want to so I'm reading some studies. There was one by NEC, one by I think PwC, sponsored basically, others, and one I think it was another Hunter and whatever their name is. So most of them focused on what money would be earned from smart cities. How many billions of dollars would be earned by providing safe city solutions to governments. Yes, companies are there to make money, I totally agree. But not many of these studies, and I tried looking for them, actually talked about what are the products they are tuning to this thing. So when we were doing our Cyberdome project, and we had one of the big five as the consultants, the first thing I had to say is कि यार अपना software बेचना बंद करो, पहले हमारी बात सुनो, and we are looking for indigenous. So a lot of the boys that work with you and others in Delhi, I brought them in and I said, use these boys, they are smarter than all the American stuff you're trying to sell me. So on that note, I would ask Brijesh ji to talk about their experience, and then we'll go on from there. You set the note on the hygiene part. I'm trying to set the note on the fact that the consumer is eventually the citizen. And when the citizen is the consumer of the safe city, let's not try and sell what we have as packages. Just one point, we just implementing our ITMS thing, and after phase 1, the companies which are the same which have done Lucknow, Hyderabad and so on and so forth are saying कि हमको पहले आपकी बात सुन लेनी चाहिए, गुवाहाटी तो बिल्कुल ही अलग है. What sells in Delhi, Hyderabad and Lucknow is not going to sell here. So same thing goes for the safe city. Brijesh ji.
It may come as a surprise to most that of all arms of governance, the one which uses technology most is law enforcement. So right from, let's say, analysis of body fluids, to fingerprints, to ballistics, to analytics, to facial recognition, to bomb disposal, law enforcement uses most technology than any other arm of governance. Now, applying this to mass solutions for safe cities, there are 4 or 5 kinds of systems which have emerged across the world. One is, in primary, something called Next Generation 911. So it's basically a control room on steroids, which has location-based systems, GIS. It can take any input from multimedia. You can get connected to it with any modality. Apart from that, it also becomes a unified command and control center in case of a disaster. In case of a multi-agency operation, then you don't have to worry about fire brigade is operating on which frequency, and what are the paramedics operating on. So it can create a unified picture. So next generation 911 systems are one which are used across the world. India also, we are trying to get this 112, a single number for everything, for fire, for health, for police, a single emergency number for all emergency services, which is based on this model of next generation 911 systems. So NG 911 is one of the system of systems which is applied for safe city. Second is this whole gamut of CCTV surveillance. Now, the world has tried various kinds of CCTV surveillance and various applications being automatic number plate recognition, or having video analytics algorithms. So you can, let's say, if you are monitoring an installation, you can give it an algorithm that if a vehicle loiters there, or if a vehicle passes there 3 times, then alert me. So you actually can't design a system where you have people looking at CCTV cameras. No, it has to have a layer of analytics and built-in analytic rules. So then the the very controversial facial recognition system. So world over, world has began with, there are totalitarian countries like China where you have total facial recognition. They even have something called a social credit score where, they automatically deduct marks from you for small infractions, and then next time you say you're not allowed to board a train or a plane because, your score is less. To places where you can use facial recognition for control of crime and criminals. But world over, there's a backlash against facial recognition systems. So anybody wanting to adapt facial recognition systems, please understand that there is no law in India till now about facial recognition. But you may have either a Supreme Court ruling or something coming up, or maybe government coming up with a policy about facial recognition system. Before you invest in FRS, please consider what is the kind of policy movement in this direction. So CCTV surveillance and the gamut of things around that is one thing. Then the next is again a slightly controversial thing called predictive policing. It is known by the name of predictive policing, fusion centers or real-time crime centers. These are excellent things. I've seen this in practical application in New York Police Department, wherein let's say a single thing is picked up and you have streaming information about it. For example, if they picked up the face of some person in real time, his face would be recognized, his number would be known, his number would be checked against a location database, find out whether the number is with him or not, his address would be known, if it's a vehicle associated with him. To this, that cameras can do an automatic intelligent handover and takeover. For example, if there's a black sedan escaping, the next camera would be waiting for a black sedan escaping. So this kind of real-time crime centers. From this to intelligent traffic management systems. In fact, for a very long time, Mumbai has, I handled Mumbai traffic for 3.5 years, from 2010 to 2014. And we have this camera-based system which counts the number of vehicles and then tries to kind of load balance and give a green corridor to vehicles. So it's been in Mumbai for a very, very long time. These are kind of systems. Smart parking applications are there. And then now cities are coming up with drones and applications for drones. Maybe it for traffic, maybe it for emergency response, maybe it for crime prevention, maybe it for patrol. Drone-based solutions are coming up. And lot of analytics goes behind this. For example, when we talk of predictive policing, crime mapping, this is used for resource allocation, finding out vulnerable areas, planning of your patrol, planning of a big event monitoring, so on and so forth. And finally, in this, what is coming up is variables. So, like IoT devices, these are large number of variables. For example, body cameras, which give more transparency, accountability from both sides. So, in a citizen interaction, if the traffic policeman is wearing a camera, body-worn camera, feed of which is directly going to a cloud, being analyzed in real time, or dash cams which are used in US basically. So, these are the kind of 5-6 systems which are around safe cities. Now, they have been evolving in different ways. Most of the safe city or smart city programs have one or the other component. Somebody starts with a CCTV surveillance system, but I would now also point out to the pitfalls here. That kind of the implementation in India is slightly mindless. Is that we are not looking at interoperable systems. We are not looking at, if tomorrow, if we have to plug in something to this, how do you plug in something into this? Or if I'm going to utilize the data from this for planning purposes, can I port this data for some other system? So on and so forth. So I think somebody goes for a safe city and a smart city concept, we are spending a large amount of money. Each of these smart city programs, nothing is less than 500 crores. If you are spending 500 crores, let there be a differential, let there be a palpable increase in citizen safety, citizen perception of safety, prevention of crime, improvement of, let's say, security and safety of women and children, so on and so forth. So neither we are using before and after metrics, nor we are using systems which are designed in a way that they become interoperable or are designed in a way that data from one can be used for other. So I try to give you a survey of what kind of systems are available and also the kind of pitfalls which may come to if we implement them mindlessly. Sir?
Thank you, Brijesh. Good of you to say that law enforcement is the one that uses technology most. Actually, most people don't realize, but as digital grows, the role of just not law enforcement, but I think eventually the role of the entire security apparatus, and we really can't do without looking at it. In fact, monitoring is a bad word, I believe. So I don't use the word monitoring, I use the word analyzing. But without analyzing what's happening around in the world, we can't keep you safe. But you know, it's not just crime. So I would like to add to what Brijesh said, is that it's not just crime. You know, we've got Mr. Narendra here from the NSCS, and even the surveillance that the cameras that come up, the footage that you keep, has an aspect of national security. A month down the line, if you just get a simple input regarding the movement of somebody who is wanting to harm the country, you need technology for that analysis. So when you say safe city, you're basically, citizens think of chori nahi hogi, snatching nahi hoga, murder pakda jayega, accident mein kya hua dekha jayega. But there's a larger perspective out there. And that is what we miss. So investment in soft infrastructure for the security grid is most important. With that, I'd like to ask our young friend from Ghaziabad, which happens to be from my home state, Uttar Pradesh, or as it was called, Uttar Pradesh at one point in time. So let's have it from you. Let's hear it.
Very good evening to all. I am Dr. Nitin Gaur. I am an IAS officer from 2016 batch. Presently, I am holding the post of Municipal Commissioner Ghaziabad. Well, just now we have listened to very senior IPS officers and one senior from Central Secretariat Services, National Security Council Secretariat. And so my topic would be different from them. It's not at all related to security or crime. It will be like the challenges we face in digitally transforming organizations like urban local bodies, like Nagar Nigam, which I am heading. Well, I have been part of discussions in this hall since morning. We have discussed quite in details about different facets related to adoption and implementation and changes with time in various digital media which help in improvement in an organization. But one thing which we have missed is the human interface, and also how do we make people, the various stakeholders, internalize the transformation. Be it the political class, what in UP we call Vidhayak, Sansad, Parshad, the media, the Patrakar, who throng into public offices every day with their handheld mobiles, which they call as cameras, with the lawyers, with the common man. Well, before I entered into civil services, I always used to wonder कि कुछ लोगों को preference क्यों मिल जाती है? Why do people tend to jump queues? Why do their requests are entertained on priority? So I used to often wonder, when I will become an administrator, I would give an equal or level playing field to all. But when you enter into civil services, you see that one can't always fulfill his or her wishes. There are recommendations, there are people who come with letterheads ranging from MLAs to MPs to cabinet ministers and whatnot. Then where is the common man? Where is the person who is standing last in the queue? Many a times we see that in high offices, common man doesn't even see to get or meet HOD. So that's where role of technology comes. That's where if he or she is smart, he can download particular application or email or send a dark or registered letter to get his grievance redressed. Now, how effective that would be, that would depend obviously on how well that application is made, how better it is, its user interface is, and how well the systems respond to it. That is how well the parent organization, in my case Nagar Nigam, responds to all the complaints received via online medium, whether that be through email or social media like Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that. So, as I have said earlier, that we lacked human interface, we lacked discussion on human tendencies. As they are saying that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make horse drink water from the pond. So, if we adapt technologies, I see that in practical terms, there's quite resistance to it in the beginning. Like there would be trade unions gathering and they would be demanding ki, the sweepers or the sanitation workers or the inspectors, they don't have smartphones, they can't respond quickly to all the complaints made to them. They don't have vehicles, they don't have fuel, the vehicles are out of order, they need to be serviced. Then there are unions of workers. If you start taking action against the lower functionary, they gang up saying that their workers are being exploited, a term famous in many North Indian states कि कर्मचारी संघ आते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि उनके कार्मिकों का उत्पीड़न हो रहा है. उत्पीड़न, by उत्पीड़न they means if you try to avoid ghost workers, if you try to see which worker is getting which salary, whether salary is going to the actual worker or not, and if you are cutting, I mean, you don't know how many strings you pull by just simple plain one action of yours. You don't know you irritate whom, the higher ups, or you actually end up taking action against the erring officials. So there's whole lot of system which is at work, and the choice is yours. Either you can go with the flow, or you introduce some disruptions. And obviously digital transformation is a much needed disruption. Disruptions are needed to streamline the system, to take it to next level, so that new work processes get in which are fairer, more transparent, and held accountability at each level. In the case of my Nagar Nigam, I would like to have an application for public which is very user friendly, and at the same time which can help administrators, that is me and my immediate reportees who are like additional municipal commissioner, to actually track what is going on in the field. If I have a fleet of 4,500 vehicles, at the click of a mouse on my dashboard, I would be able to see which vehicle has done which work since morning and what are the problem areas. If a common man who doesn't have any connection with an important leader, doesn't have any recommendation behind him, is suffering because of lack of light in his area, because of lack of parking facilities in his area, because of poor condition of road, he shouldn't be made to wait for hours in the municipality office. Rather, he should have an application, or he should have a helpline number which, if it is supported by WhatsApp chatbot in present days, can be very handy to him. A ticket can be generated, it can be tracked to the ground level officer level, and then that ground level officer can be made accountable to redress the complaint. If there are genuine reasons that the ground level officer and the line department can't address the complaint, they can always say that the genuine reason is lack of budget, or the nature of work is such that it will take time, or any other plausible reason. If there is no plausible reason, then the accountability can be fixed. So I would be looking for such systems in my municipal corporation. I would like to thank GovConnect and Government of Assam to give me this platform. I came last night and I have met many seniors, many persons from industries who have demonstrated their capabilities to me, and I look forward to catching up with them later. And thanks again for hearing me out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nitin. heartening to, apart from everything else you said, heartening to hear just one sentence from you, which is that you want to know what is being done for the public and you want a dashboard that helps you do that. Now, coming from a young officer, that is just what this country needs. But as here we are all talking about safer and smarter cities, after hearing these three gentlemen talk of absolutely different aspects of what we are talking about, all I can say is that unless there's convergence, it's not going to work. So if traffic is converged with the surveillance, you're looking at safer. If what the municipal corporation and the district administration are doing, whether it's pipelines, whether it's electricity, whether it's other services, is again converged in the command and control center, then it's not just smarter, but it's also safer. And this is something we forget in government. I don't know if my friends will agree with me, that we all tend to work in silos. Everybody works in a different silo. So on that note, I would request Tayi Taggu, who's from our neighboring state and one of the most picturesque parts of Arunachal, Pasighat. Let's hear him on how they are going forward. Thank you. Sorry,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I apologize for being on the phone, but there's a big fire in the town which I'm trying to handle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have talked about the digital transformation. And just we are talking about digital transformation, and there are challenges, especially in the far-flung areas like in Arunachal Pradesh, where the communications are really difficult. And what about the digital transformation rollout? Maybe good here, but how do you do that in the far-flung areas of Arunachal, where one place is 25 kilometers or 30 kilometers away and there are only 5 houses? There are no telephone, no mobile connections. So there are so many things there. So I will be talking about Arunachal Pradesh especially. So digital rollout, especially in our capital area, we have e-offices in the state capital. We have e-offices in the most of the district headquarters. But still, we have to manually work. And that's the reason being, as I have told you, there are a lot of villages, far-flung areas, where no digital connection is possible, and you have to do it by manually. So these are the things and the challenges we need to do. How to do it. And digital transformation should also be inclusion. That should not be exclusion to the far-flung areas like Arunachal Pradesh or Nagaland or other areas where they are not being connected. So India's digital transformation story will be not completed if it is not included to the whole of the country. So this need to be think by the private corporations, even the government of India. But government of India is pushing very hard to make it in the digital kind of transformation in Arunachal Pradesh. But still, we have a long way to go. And another point I would like to tell my, especially expert, every day we have to prove who is me. So why this should be? If this is the digital transformation, why should I prove every day this is Mr. Me? Mr. Taggu, Mr. Srinivas, Mr. So-and-so, every time you go into hotel, sir, you give your identity. You give these things, you give that thing. If you don't carry your identity, then it's very difficult to get in, check in. Why? So this need to be rethink about. Because when we are digitally forward, so forward, why this need not be think again? I think everyone is carrying a lot of cards. You have the Aadhaar card, you have so many identity cards, so many other. So why we should carry all this every day like a donkey? So can't we think other way so that our identity is proved the moment you reach there? Why should you say I am Mr. So-and-so? So this challenge need also to be think about. And another point I would like to tell is, see, कहीं भी आप जाओ, yeah, I just want to talk about now the smart city. We have also a smart city. My Pasighat is a smart city. And we have put 76 cameras in the vicinity of the city. But the most interesting point there is, whenever some accident or whenever some thefts occurring in that area, I want to find out where is the person who has theft or where is that accident happened. Then there we find the lights was not there because of that the camera could not be functioned. So that kind of coincidence happen everywhere. So how do you rectify such things? Even if all lights gone, but the camera should capture it. And I find it is really a coincidence. In many times, these are happening. So these are the real thing, not just an imaginary. As a district magistrate of that district, I happen to find out that our smart city is occurring only in the day. In the night, when there are no light, it is not operating. So how to do it? We have that ICCC, integrated control command center, but still that is not fully operational. In the sense, it doesn't give the person who thief in on the street, then could not be detected. So I had a lot of discussions with such things. So this also need to be think about upgradation, because that is the security. If we can detect a person in our own small towns, a theft or an accident or an incident occurring there, we are unable to detect that person. So what is the safety and security of our own towns or a city? That's happened every day. So our digital transformation should also include all such things. And then security, also not about only that. The security is about the giving the last benefit to the last person in the queue. So still, even the government of India is giving us a pressure, but sometimes physically, as I have told you, in the far-flung areas, even in cities, there are ignorant people who are not educated, who cannot take the benefits of the government. They are excluded by themselves. So even that email, supplying an application through online is not possible still. Because there are still, in India, there are at least minimum 30-40% are still uneducated. We talk about the online, and it makes them puzzle. Again, when we talk about the online, again, they demand that you give your emails. These people doesn't have that email. So why can't we make their name only as their own email? So every time you ask, sir, ये कर दीजिए, यहाँ पे email demand हो रहा है. Why email is demand in everything? So can we do better? उसी का नाम में ही email सीधा जाएगा, वो मिल जाएगा, ऐसा होना चाहिए. तो कुछ ना कुछ ज़्यादा, sometimes to solve the problem we are increasing the problem. तो ये एक बहुत माने सिटीजन के लिए भी तकलीफ हो रहा है. कहीं जगह में भी सबके लिए ये बहुत माने दर्द भी है. तो डिस्पाइट ऑफ अभी कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि हम डीएम मदद भी करना मांगता है तो नहीं मदद कर सकता है एज पर द रूल. तो हमको रूल ही बहुत, हमारा ऊपर में बहुत रूल तुका है. तो इवन द डीएम वांट टू हेल्प, ही कैन हेल्प, क्योंकि उसको प्रूफ दिखाना पड़ेगा. एज आई हैव सेड, उसको भी प्रूफ नहीं होने से हम हेल्प नहीं कर सकता. व्हाई? ही इज आल्सो इंडियन सिटीजन, बट स्टिल यू कैन हेल्प हिम because you need all kind of proof, so many things. So what to do about this. So there are many more things of just nature. और एक मान लीजिए कहीं कहीं जगह में हम लोग सुनता है हॉस्पिटल में आया औरत ने उसको सोने का बेड भी नहीं दिया, डिलीवरी होके यहाँ बाहर में मर गया, यहाँ बच्चा को डिलीवरी कर दिया. तो ये किसका फॉल है? वेदर इट इज में हमारा ये है, हमारा सिस्टम में स्पाइट ऑफ ट्राइंग टू डू बेटर स्टिल देयर आर लॉट ऑफ लेकुनास, क्योंकि दिस आर द सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी ऑफ आवर वुमेन. ये मेरा बहन है, मेरा बेटी है, ये मेरा बीवी है, तो उसका सिक्योरिटी नहीं है तो वी ओनली टॉक अबाउट द बिग शॉट्स. तो बिग शॉट का तो सिक्योरिटी होगा, बट व्हाट अबाउट द पीपल हु आर ऑन द ग्राउंड? दिस in a such a very good conclave, we also should try to कि कुछ काम हमें ऐसे करना है कि उसको भी माने उसको सुविधा मिले. I think with this I thank you all. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Very, very thought-provoking remarks from Taggu ji, especially as they hit the basic point of governance, which is that it's not just convergence of technologies, but convergence of ideas that's also needed. With that, I'm actually going to have to run away and request your indulgence and say sorry, because there's a huge fire which is taken off in a slum area, and human lives matter more than anything else. So I hand over back to the organizers and say sorry. Thank you, it was lovely being here.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure the city needs your attention. So to continue with the panel, I would like to invite Mr. Praveen Kulkarni, who is the country manager for cyber security and Micro Focus, to moderate the panel and take the discussion forward. Over to you, Praveen.
Thanks, Costa. Yes. Sunil ji, I know we had a quick chat yesterday, but I'd like to get your views on the kind of digital initiatives that you have taken as part of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, and your experiences and learnings, if you can share that with us, sir.
All the dignitaries on the dais and dignitaries present in the audience, I will focus on property tax or assessment tax. All over India, and particularly in Maharashtra, it is a static and it is based on a rateable value. Rateable value is defined as the annual rent a property can fetch in a fair market. And it is, when it is assessed first, it is static. Once it is assessed, till the age of that building, it remains static. And the Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission guidelines provided that there should be dynamic, faceless, transparent guidelines of the property tax. So therefore, BMC has transformed from the 1st April 2010 and made the amendment in that, and now there is no capital value base. Capital value is derived mainly on the stamp duty reckoner, which is published by this respective government. In Maharashtra, it is published by the government of Maharashtra, and it is published on the registration value which sub-registrar does in that particular year. It is the average of that in that particular area, and once it is fixed, it remains static for the 5 years. Every 5 years, it is revised. So this has given us it is dynamic, faceless, and even ICC can calculate it if you know the stamp duty rate of this particular area. So there is a formula which is displayed on the website, and for this we have actually done the IT intervention in 2013, and because of those vendors and analytics was given by the vendor also, that renowned analytics SAS and VIPL, so they are the joint venture, so they have given us this, and there are more than around 4 lakh properties in Mumbai, 28 lakhs including commercial, so that if you change any parameter, they can give you the analysis within say 2 hours. And they give you have focused collection. They give us, if we say what are the default us, give us more than 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs. So they can provide the, in 2-3 hours they can use data. So that is, again, nobody can manipulate that. And that is totally transparent. And in spite of this challenge of COVID, our collection has improved over the last 3 years, sir. So in 1920, it was 4,160 crores. In 2021, it was by 24% of the previous year. In 21-22, it was 15% by the previous year. So in spite of all the difficulties and because of the analytics and this dynamic system, we are able to meet the collection standards. And it is the mandate of the government of India also. So all the urban bodies have to transfer one day to the capital system. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sunil ji. If I can pose my next question to Ramesh ji, you're managing the Kakinada, you're part of the Kakinada Smart City Corporation, right? If you can give us your experiences and insights on taking digital initiatives as part of your organization.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I thank the government of Assam and Go Connect for giving me an opportunity to participate in this conclave. Since morning, a lot of speakers have spoken about the right kind of a digital mindset. I put it a bit differently, saying that to have a right mindset digitally, we have to keep two phobias aside. That is phrenemophobia, that is fear of thinking, and metathesiophobia, that is fear of change. So if you keep these two things away, as a combined stakeholders, we all will be having a better digital mindset to think forward for digitalization or transforming digitally. In this process, I have been in the government service of government of Andhra Pradesh from 96 onwards. So, government of Andhra Pradesh, in the erstwhile combined state also, we were pioneering all the IT initiatives. So we were into delivering municipal services on various online platforms, right from issuance of birth and death certificates to on property tax collections and online building permission systems. So over a period from late 90s, we have evolved through the journey of 25 years odd. We have transformed many technologies, but what my personal feeling here is, we were too frequent in transforming ourselves. We were not allowing the technologies to settle down. Because along with the technology, the entire capability of the administrative machinery has to be geared up. So this is my personal feeling, and I also felt throughout my career that once we are seeing that one platform is settling down, tomorrow with the change of a government or maybe change of a HOD or maybe some other regions, we are changing the entire systems. So we are not really able to settle down and tackle the issues that are involved in any of the service delivery mechanisms that we have, right from grievance redressal systems to any of the municipal services for that matter. So over a period of time, of course, we have to go for the new technologies, we have to adopt the new technologies for various cyber security reasons or better service deliveries. But a word of caution here is, along with digital transformation, especially for civic bodies, we should have the capabilities also to deliver those services. I take a simple example here. For example, we have this online grievance redressal system regarding this non-burning of a street light. We receive it and we have tried to redress it. There are so many issues. My friend from Ghaziabad was also mentioning, we may not be having the required material to change a bulb. We might not having the manpower to immediately cater to that. But the SLS says within 24 hours you have to change. So there should be a right balance between the transformation digitally and our capabilities, maybe men and material, whatever resources. So if both things go together only, we can really claim or boost about our digital transformation. So as things went on, what the urbanite is looking for is a smart, safer and ecologically sustainable urban area for a better livelihood or living in any of the urban areas. At this juncture, the Smart Cities mission has given us an opportunity, and Kakinada was fortunate to be one of the first 20 smart cities to get selected during the 2016. And we have taken up so many initiatives furthering digital transformation, right from establishing the integrated command control center to what are the parameters like traffic regulations to crime detection to CC camera surveillance to facial recognitions and emergency call boxes for safer cities. So these are all the part of smart cities initiatives, and we could attain a reasonable success rate, I could say, not 100% success rate, because sustainability is an issue here. As small municipal corporations or even bigger municipal corporations, to run it in a sustainable way, it's a challenge. We have established CCC, but to run it, as our senior officers were mentioning, every one of us work in silos. So to work in an integrated fashion is a real challenge. So to mention a few of the initiatives from the government of Andhra Pradesh in the recent years, I would like to take one example of decentralization of administration, that is setting up of ward administrative secretaries and mapping every 50 households to a volunteer, where all these direct benefit transfers, either in cash or kind, have been delivered at the doorsteps of the beneficiary, has been taken up, and every 50 households is mapped to a volunteer, and through various digital apps and digitalization platforms, the DBTs are happening in a smooth fashion. For example, I mentioned here the distribution of the social security pensions, the old age or widow pensions. We used to take 15 days earlier, physically distributing and all that. But now we do it in just 2 days. So that is the beauty of this digital transformation and the technological revolutions that we are having. And the satisfaction levels of the citizenry, that's what we are aiming at, are really improved. And this ward administrative secretary system also have come up in Andhra Pradesh, and it's been established in the last 2 years. So all delivery systems have been routed through that secretariat system only. They did not come to any municipal office or any revenue office. There are 10 functionaries within the line department within that secretariat. They are all connected with various government platforms and apps. So the delivery is at the secretariat level only. This was possible only because of the digital transformation that has taken place a long way in our state. And to mention about the civic facilities like municipal administrations, the basic function is water supply, sanitation, street lighting. The citizens are also very aware as urbanites. So what is happening in a real-time administration is we are tempted to focus more on the complaints point of view rather than setting the systems right. So if there are 10 complaints, I have been monitored right from the Secretariat Command Control Center. So my first priority is to attend to that 10 complaints. So citizens also become very clever, saying that they raise the complaint and they get their grievance resolved. But thing is, the overall system, instead of going to one ward, I am going here where there is a complaint. But that's where I want mentioning again, our resources has to go hand in glove with technology. Otherwise, we will not be able to deliver the required service delivery, which is the need of the hour or what the citizenry is looking at. And lastly, I would like to bring one more technological driven, act that the state government of Andhra Pradesh has taken is this resurvey of government or the urban lands, which has done maybe 100 years back during the British regime. And that has been a major cause of concern for all the property owners, and that has been a cause of crime rate increase in urban areas. And there is no document available with anyone or in our offices. So the government of Andhra Pradesh has taken up this digitalization of all the records by doing the resurvey with the technology-aided facilities like drone resurveys and what are cars. I am not very well aware of that, but all the technology has been used so that the ultimate aim is to provide the rightful ownership deed to the rightful owner, and also to reduce all that litigation and all the crime-related activities that are associated with urban lands especially. So these are all the various initiatives we have talked about. And last but not the least, I would like to end by saying everything is an innovation of the innovation of the innovation. So let us not try to reinvent the wheel every time. This is a word of caution that this conclave should take it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir.
Thank you. If I can request now Ashish ji, you've been driving the Ujjain's smart city, if I'm correct. See if you could give us your experience of managing the smart city. What are the functions that you offer to citizens or the programs that you run and your views on what's what, if I can ask you if I can.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for organizers to provide me this opportunity to take part of this esteemed conference and conclave. It was really a good experience. Since morning we are hearing, and it's a very long day, like since morning we are hearing so many debates, so I think I am the last one. So I just want to conclude very shortly. Like smart city, I'm working as a smart city CEO Ujjain, so I will just talk about Ujjain only, because the concept of smart city is really very good, and it gives us the freedom and window to conceptualize the plan as per the requirement of the cities. As we know that there is not one size fits for all. Like if something is good, some project or initiative may be good for Guwahati, but it may not be useful for Ujjain. So as that SCP is prepared by the consultation of the citizens and as per the requirement of the city, we all know that Ujjain is a religious capital of the state and most visited city of the state. And every year more than 1.5 crore devotees visit Mahakal to pay their puja and for puja purpose and tourism purpose. After inauguration of that our flagship project of Mahakal Lok, in last 2 months the number of visitors increased up to 40 to 50 lakh per month. So it is really a big challenge for the city planner and administrator to cater this influx of the tourists and the visitors. So we in Ujjain Smart City, the biggest challenge for us, for the security concern and for the crowd management concern, so whatever ICT project we initiated, it's related with the crowd control and the management of the in terms of the traffic, ITMS, parking, security, surveillance and these all things. So initially there was just 3 hectare land was for the Mahakal temple, and the number of the visitors I already mentioned. And the city like Ujjain, although the population of Ujjain is just 5 lakh, but one fine day, say for on Sivaratri, 20 lakh people come for to perform their puja. So city's population become 25 lakhs. So this is the biggest challenge for the planner, city planner, and for all the administration to cater that influx of the tourists, influx of the visitors. In last Kumbh, in 1 month of period in 2016, 70 million people visited Ujjain. So the kind of surveillance and security aspect is required for the cities is really very huge. And fortunately we got the planning and other things from the smart cities, and end user like police and administration and Mahakal Mandir Samiti all are involved. So whatever solution or whatever artificial intelligence and crowd control mechanism we adopted, I think this is very useful and it is appreciated by all. From last 2 months we are just looking forward for making the system more comfortable. Whoever is going to visit Ujjain, they should go back with a good experience. So the major challenge in Ujjain is crowd control and to crowd management. And by putting this all ICT initiative like ITMS, integrated traffic control management system, our ICCC with the help of the police department, and age-based analytics surveillance of the whole Mahakal Lok. These are the 3 things which are the major initiative and project initiated by the Ujjain Smart City, and I think the result is very good and it's very useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish ji, for that. Lastly, I'd like to pose this question to Prasun ji. You've been working in the government public sector now for almost more than 2 decades, and you've been part of multiple digitization projects, and I know that you've been closely associated with the smart city program right from the inception. So if I can get your views on the projects that you worked and the learnings you've had.
Hey, thank you, Praveen, and thank you, the organizer and Ego and everybody. After listening to almost close to more than an hour from this panelist, and I can see that it's more than 250 years of experience probably there in the stage now, and I feel humble. But I like to share the perspective of our experience, not that what we exactly have done, but the experience we had with probably 35 or 36 odd cities in India where the smart city or some of the safe city projects has happened, and we actually have the opportunity to provide our solutions and work with them and understand their problems and how they try to solve their problems. Now, one of the very key aspect, what we have seen is that every city has authority as municipal corporations and then become a new SPB and all. But cities are always made for multi-generational infrastructure, right? So it is making a bridge, building, creating a buildings, or you're putting some telecom infrastructure or electricity line, water management system, water distribution system or sewerage systems and all, and even traffic control systems today. So these are all 15 years made for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, right? And suddenly the digital came into picture for us a disruption, and then we have been asked that use digital and make things more efficient to run and more efficient to deliver services. Now, if you look at that way, there's a huge gap in terms of the mindset, because the operator and the administrator, they are habituated about this 15 to 40 years of timeline, but the IT is all about 5 years, right, cycle. So there's a huge gap how to manage this whole show, not managing the implementation. Implementation can happen very easily within a year or within 1.5 years. But how to maintain it and operate it for the 15, 20 years, because ultimately it has to be kind of go beyond that kind of life cycle that we're looking at. But yes, there is a huge gap between an engineering system and an IT system. So digital coming into picture created a lot of challenges, thrown a lot of challenges to administrator like yours in this panel. At the same time, I think if it is handled well or planned it well, probably you have understood that there can be a huge opportunity to improve the operations or rather improve the service delivery. Now, with this, I will probably share 2-3 points, which again coming from the experience. One is definitely when we talk about efficiency, so it's basically the delivery of the services to the citizens, to the public per se. Now, this, when we talk about digital service delivery, it actually coming to an applications which is being written by someone, and the application has to run it well. So whether this application has the right quality to run or serve, serve the performance is very, very important. So that is where we have seen the many cities, they actually done it well because they used some of the things to make sure that those applications are delivered well in terms of whether it is the application is made for 2 lakhs users or but the application is actually started performing even for 50,000 users, right? So, but it comes after you started delivering, rolling out, and after 1 year you started facing these problems. Second, there's a website, whether you are opening the page is taking more than 5 milliseconds or 10 milliseconds, and then your citizens are becoming impatient and it is not being used. So now, if you look at some of the examples that what we see, and it actually requires some kind of quality measurement, quality testing, and that is where one aspect we have seen customers like GSTN, for example, or income tax, e-filing 2.0 we have seen, or maybe passenger reservation system of Indian Railways. And they are very small systems, right? Every month end, every quarter end, crores of businesses or citizens are logging in and doing their work. So there has been certain planning and things has gone using certain tools. So we kind of as an organization has been supporting this kind of organization, helping them to do this testing of application, and so that the quality is maintained. So that's one aspect. Second aspect is that today in the smart city projects, I think there are a lot of investment has gone or is going. Now, what we have seen, many customers even does not aware what they have in this whole infrastructure. How many cameras, how many sensors, how many IoT devices, it is not visible. So visibility is a big challenge that you actually do not know what you have. Now, if you don't know what you have, then how do you make it more efficient? Because you may not be knowing your 20% your infrastructure is not working. or not being used, so that it can be used somewhere or not, because then you go for extra procurement, but it is actually creating a redundancy in the situation. So that is where it is important that when you run your IT operations, you need some kind of robust framework and robust tools which will actually enable you to run your operations efficiently. And that is where you will find that not only the tools or the software, but today we are talking about artificial intelligence is being used every part of our life, business and everywhere. Now, can we use AI to make our operation efficient? So that is where I think there are technologies today available, or I know there are many customers that are using something called the AI ops. So it is a buzzword, but I'm saying that finally, if you look at those technologies which is proven, I mean, not that you are kind of doing R&D into a system. Now, if we do that, can I reduce my manpower cost, my operation cost, and make it more efficient? That is the second aspect. Third aspect, what we have seen is that while customers today or the municipal authorities, whether municipality or smart cities, they have invested a lot of applications, a lot of IT infrastructure, and then it actually helped individual departments to excel. Solid waste management, big success. You go for the traffic control systems, maybe partial success. You go for CCTV, that can be a good amount of success, which gives a lot of safety. But you move into sewerage systems, or you move into the water distribution system. Now you will find that every department has invested individually into the technologies and tried to make it efficient. But there is a very little space. What we have seen is that cross-domain use cases. Can I use my weather data, pollution data, which can be used by my health department to actually create some health planning? Or maybe using the weather data, a traffic management, traffic control system, in the police can plan their traffic planning in the city, because there is a rain coming in part of the city, and then you can divert the traffic from there, because there will be a traffic challenge coming up, or it may be Ujjain, you have this festival time coming, and then suddenly 5 lakhs become 20-25 lakhs, and there will be your number of vehicles. So how do you manage traffic that time? So can we use your previous year's data, and you know exactly what road have what kind of congestion? So is more of a cross-domain analytics, cross-domain analysis, which actually can help our customers today to make it more efficient. I think there are many more areas that we can discuss, but I think the time is less. I thought of just highlighting few points. But one thing I like to highlight here is that some of the things customers are using it, they have tried it, tested it. So again, what sir, you mentioned that don't start anything from the scratch or new things. If something is there, use it because it is proven. So yes, there are customers, there are cities where we are actually supporting them in different such aspects, and definitely will be kind of see that more and more such reusability approach coming in, and more use case can be efficiently used by authorities like you. Thank you.
Thanks, Prasoon, for that. This has been actually a very insightful discussion, because each person's perspective is very different from the others, right? First, we heard about building security into design. I'm very glad I also heard the phrase building privacy into design. Then we did hear about how to get technology to cover efforts, right? The next gen 911 with India Zone 112. We talked about how technology can help administration become more customer-centric. We also did hear about a few insights about what are the challenges in the system. We heard about how technology can build efficiency in the system. We also heard about the whole point about resistance to change, right? And also the fact that when you talk about a service, inherently the system needs to have the capability to also deliver the service. Right? And the very interesting insight was sometimes you can use technology to tackle spikes in management requirements, right? As you talked about the point that in a small period of time you need to handle 3x or 4x of, in IT we call it load, for you it's physical people, right? Prasoon, thanks for that. You did talk about you need to have visibility to build control, to build efficiency, and to deliver not only operations but also services. Right? Thanks. I mean that was a complete diverse view in terms of feedback, in terms of perspective. Thank you so much for this. Are there any questions from the audience that you'd like to pose? All right, if I can hand this back to Costa.
Yes, thank you very much. Sincerely thank the eminent panelists that we have today for taking time and really having this wonderful discussion. I would request now, Praveen, if you can felicitate all our distinguished panelists with, can we have the mementos for us to felicitate our panelists? What we will be doing is that we will be presenting all our distinct panelists with a student science acknowledgement. Can I request Praveen to felicitate Mr. G. Narendra Ji, the Joint Secretary, Cyber, National Security Council, Secretary, Government of India. Can we felicitate Mr. Brijesh Singh, IPS, Additional Director General of Police, Government of Maharashtra. Dr. Nitin Gaur, IAS Municipal Commissioner, Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Can we felicitate Mr. Tayi, Taggu, APCS AG, Deputy Commissioner, East Siang District, Government of Arunachal Pradesh. Can we felicitate Mr. Sunil, Dhamne, Joint Municipal Commissioner, Assessment and Collection, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Next up, Mr. K. Ramesh, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Kakinada Smart City Corporation Limited. Thank you, Mr. Ashish Kumar Pathak, Chief Executive Officer, Ujjain Smart City Limited, Government of Madhya Pradesh. And last but not the least, Mr. Prasun Talukdar, National Manager, Digital India and Strategic Projects, Government and PSU at Microfocus. Can I just request the distinguished panelists that if you can take a group photograph